This is the Porsche Cayenne S in the new generation, and recently you have asked us, well, you've driven the base model, what's the difference to this one here? So everything you need to know about the new Porsche Cayenne S, an exterior, interior and the driving experience on Autogefühl, your #1 resource for in-depth car reviews and your #1 community to discuss cars today with Thomas. Of course, we'll test the performance as well. In full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! The new Cayenne generation hasn't changed that much from the front design. The grille is a little bit wider, and in the S model you have a somewhat different graphic in the lower part, but the difference between base Cayenne and S is not that huge in the visual part. You get LED from standard equipment always with all new Cayenne, and optional the one that is equipped here, the Matrix LED, which is then also responsible for the high beam. 4.92 m or 16'1" is the total length of the Cayenne, and this generation now is about 6 cm longer than the previous generation. You cannot really make it up from the exterior here if it's the base or the S or the turbo. It's more about which rims you go for optional anyway. They start with 19-inch. Those ones are the massive optional 21-inch rims, and well, they look really amazing, don't you think so? I like this spider design, you know, kid of the 90s, those BBS spider tire design, a little bit reminiscent of those ones. And that you still get the crossover style here. However, you can also get the Cayenne with the wheel arches painted in vehicle color, but I think to an SUV, this one looks just fine. Or what do you think? Then a relatively conservative shoulder line here also, not too many harsh lines, round shape here at the door handles, and this classic Cayenne shape here, coupe style at the rear. It looks a little bit more elegant than the previous generation, but again, the changes are rather subtle. 65 kilograms less in weight, by the way. Those ones are the weight savings. By the way, the rear tires are a little bit wider now than the front tires to give you some more sporty stability. Also, there's a rear axle steering available for about $2,000 extra, and that one is especially helping you then in the turning circles to reduce those. We also have it with this vehicle here today. In normal driving, you don't feel it too much because the Cayenne also without the rear axle steering is so agile to use, but especially in city and stuff, that's really a helpful feature then. Other than that, the rear end here is signalized by this strip that goes all the way through. Beautiful LED structure for sure. A seamless design also on the exterior, and the S model with 4 exhaust tips here. Those are real and those are definitely massive. And I think it's still not too over-exaggerated if you compare it to the turbo model. The turbo looks even more massive, so I would prefer the little more subtle approach here still, if you can say so, with 4 exhaust tips. Which is your favorite? The normal one, the S or the turbo? This is the light and slim key, also with those Porsche shoulder lines you can see there. Then door closing sound first of all, pretty solid, but we also have the soft close here. Magic. Again, expensive option. So instead of the doors. You know, Brian and me both are not the biggest fan of glossy black. It looks good when it's clean, but you also have to clean it quite often. Then you see everything, you know, is good quality, soft touch and stuff. Also the window buttons have a nice clicking function each. A lot of room also at the inside of the doors. That's good for the versatility. Then inside here, Porsche steering wheel, those adaptive sport seats with a lot of big shoulder parts. So far, there are not just animal skin surfaces available. That said, they should upgrade that. We have to wait for the GTS model, or then also with the Porsche exclusive, you have to ask for that for alternatives. Here with the adaptive sport seats, we also have so many controls for the front part of the seats, for example, for the lumbar support and everything electric. And by the way, next to the Cayenne S entry cap, very nicely done, the floor mats can easily be removed, and they're also quite stiff, so you can easily clean them. Just, you know, a nice detail it came to my mind. And then on the top part, you can already see again this top dashboard wrapped tightly, repeating the exterior design basically, and also big air outtakes for the interior, resembling the air intakes on the exterior. And one nice detail, you could see the steering wheel, where it can be heated. Well, just behind here, if you click there, click, 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 this is the button. Then you cannot really see it, you can just feel it for the heated steering wheel, an option I would go for. And let's get inside, and this is the reason why people shoot it, by the way. Got some new pair of shoes, by the way, if you're interested, check the video description. Well, this is why people buy Porsche Cayenne, because they have a Porsche, a sporty design, exterior and interior, but they can easily get in and out and not climb in and out like with the Boxster or with the 911. And you have this upright, great SUV seating position, a command view, also very comfortable. But the seats are very stiff, so they look great, look sporty, but for more comfort, I would prefer them a little bit softer. That's, of course, you know, personal taste as well. Then headroom wise, I'm 1m86 or 6'1". There's still some room left over my head. I also have the racing gloves here today. Well, I won't use them while driving, but still they look fancy, you know. If you want more headroom, you should leave out the glass roof. We have it equipped here. We can soon show you more of that. Looks great, brings light in the interior. But then again, if you need more headroom, if you're Michael Jordan alike, then you should leave it out. The steering wheel has this electric adjustment. Where it is again? There it is, left side. So you can easily control it in reach and also in height. Takes some time, but you can definitely find your seating position, and with those electric controls you can adjust it that well. And you always have this, not only the command drive of an SUV, but at the same time the sporty feeling of a sports car, and that's what has made the Cayenne for, you know, the Porsche bestseller until recently, where the smaller Macan also came to place. Interior overview with the horizontal stress, and again wrapped tightly from the Porsche design, and the clock here with the chronal package that is included in the S model. And also nice details here, for example, those checkered metal structures when you control the vents. Full HD 12.3-inch screen. This is the central of this new Cayenne generation. Compact steering wheel with the drive mode selector. We will test different driving modes when we drive the car. Volume controls at the steering wheel left side, and then you control some of the instruments right there. Zoom more deals to the instruments and the screen. Just finishing the overview here, lower part with the drive selector. You still have a separate volume wheel. Other than that, most is done here in the screen. And the temperature selection is still here with a nice clicking sound for temperature and also the vent strength. So the infotainment in a detailed close-up, you can see here the Apple CarPlay. You can connect your phone then with a cable. I'll soon show you where. Then you can always access back to the Porsche system. Then you have hotkeys for GPS, for example, right there. Wow, looks impressive with the satellite view, and look at the responsiveness, super fast. That's really well done. You can also connect your phone via Bluetooth, that's also possible. And so a lot of car control settings here for the air suspension, the optional one. You can pump it up a little bit higher, and the different sports modes, for example, will also change suspension setup and stuff. And climate function you can also access here, but again, it's still possible to control in the lower part. Just where the vents are coming from, that you have to do in the screen. Instruments are a combination of classic in the middle part, the big RPM with digital speed, and left and right side is digital, here also with a night assistant, for example. And also GPS map can be put in there, or also consumption figures, so you are a little bit more flexible, but at the same time you keep this basic standard Porsche view. Glossy black here also in the lower part. You have to clean from dust quite often. You have some hotkeys in the top part for the infotainment system, for example, also for the climate function. Nice clicking sound with the feedback, just very subtle. Next to the climate control directory, you can also put the seat heating, also the seat cooling if you have picked that one. The jog for the volume is just above that, so you can hardly see it on camera. And in the lower part, there's electric handbrake then, and suspension settings, but they always change also automatically if you pick different driving modes, for example. And I like to have a separate button also that I can always access the camera. For example, if I don't have to put on the rear gear, reverse gear, if I just want to drive to the front, the fake drone me from above, great resolution. Also the rear view camera, you can also change the angle a little bit. That, like this is more natural. Or you can also do it like this there, or then also to the sides to protect those precious 21-inch rims. There's a left rim, right rim. Cup holders are also adaptive for bigger beverages, keeping them tight. Then fixedly attached armrest, good build quality. You put your smartphone here, connected with the cable, 2 USB ports, or for place for your purse. Not too big, but still, you know, reasonable in space, all you need basically. And on special request, especially for our ladies, here we go with a light also for the mirror. It automatically goes on and off if you put that aside, and then you can check yourself out. Hey. And let me show you the optional panoramic roof. Turn on the ignition, and then we go here first of all with the shade that is going backwards, and at the same time you can also put it open completely. And wow, that's really a very wide, wow, that's almost a convertible SUV here, so a very wide opening. That's really nice. And of course you can put the shade even further back than for the rear seats, so it really goes all over the vehicle, and half over the vehicle the absolute opening of that one. And now the rear compartment. Also, I mean, all doors don't open that wide, but still it's easy to access the car. And since it's an upright seating position also in the rear, it's still very comfortable, more comfortable than in the sedan, for example, also more comfortable than in the Porsche Panamera. Still have a lot of legroom in the front that has also been improved for this new generation here. Of course, this one here, base or Cayenne S, no difference. Headroom the same as in the front, just a little notch still left over my head because of the panoramic glass roof, which is nice, especially for the rear passengers, looks really nice. But then again, if you need more headroom, it would be still okay for me. Well, here on the left side, you can adjust the angle of the seat. So that's really helpful. Well, I wouldn't exactly sit like this, but maybe like this, so upright also in a good comfortable position. And if you want to sleep, then just put it put it more in the rear, so you're really flexible by that. And other than that, you can also flip them from here like this and put them flat for the trunk. However, there are also more Isofix anchor points on the outside part of the seats for child seats. And we also have an armrest with cup holders right there. And last but not least, if you go for that optional, there's a USB port in the rear part. There is also this AC unit, if you want that, a 4-zone AC unit, even with heated and cooled seats for the rear. Now to the loading area, because the Cayenne is still one of the most versatile Porsches. Well, the Sport Turismo Panamera is now evening it out a little bit. This top cover, it does not raise automatically, that's said, and also no rails left and right, so it's wobbling around. That should be better done. Other than that, 770 liters, that's also very long, very well usable, 100 liters more than the previous generation. So that's good to use. Below this one here, you can also fit a replacement tire, not fitted with this one, but optionally available if you live in the region where you really need it. Wow. Look, the sound system equipment here, that's really massive. With the air suspension, if you have that one option, like with this vehicle, you can also put the trunk a little bit more down or up then again for the loading, but it doesn't change too much. Oh, wait a minute, what's here? Is that an option missing? Well, no, that's always the case also in the Volkswagen Touareg, because with the new Q7 you can find the 6 and 7 seat electric function there, but then the Cayenne and the Touareg gets nothing there, a basically blind button, because for the siblings they also want to save some money. And let's flip the seats. Sadly, we have to do that from the rear. We cannot do from the rear compartment, we cannot do that from a trunk. That's of course not that handy. But then again, if you can do it like this, you still have a Porsche with a lot of luggage capacity. Also some small stuff you can store there. And then you have to flip up the seats manual again. So it takes some time. Go around. Here we go. There we are in this setup. And let's also close the hatch. Whoa, too much torque applied there, not really child safety proof, but the capacity of the trunk is definitely better than the previous generation and one of the strengths here of the new generation. So what's powering this thing, and this is really the difference with the S model. The base model gets the new 3-liter V6 petrol turbo engine with 340 horsepower. This one here, you can see 2.9-liter V6, a little bit less displacement. You know, it's a little bit strange, isn't it? But it has more horsepower, 440. And then there's also the 4-liter V8 turbo. That one then even more horsepower, of course, 550. So 340, 440, 550. And the acceleration figures, they go down from 6 seconds, 5 seconds, 4 seconds. So this one then in the middle, 5 seconds to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. So between the base model and the turbo. This one here also a bi-turbo. There's also difference then to the base Cayenne model. But since the new base Cayenne also has a turbo, the difference then between this and the S model is also a little bit less dramatic than before. But of course we'll check the performance when we drive the car. So guys, driving part. Let's start the microphone business, as HP Baxter would say. That's a little bit slick today with some snow. Let's see how the all-wheel drive is managing that, for example. Here now with the S, you see in the first initial test of the new generation, we had the base model, which is also very powerful now. Well, this 440 horsepower we have then here now will of course have an effect. Let's go to sport mode, do the first acceleration, 60 to 100. That's it. So yeah, there is somewhat a difference to the S model because it's 1 second faster to 100 kilometers or 62 miles an hour. So it's around 5 seconds, whereas the other one is around 6 seconds. Of course, both very impressive. Here the bi-turbo also, the other one single turbo. But the base model is already very, very fast. So you have abundance of power in any case. However, if you want a little sportier notch more, then this one will help you, but of course for extra price. We're soon also getting to a motorway part with unlimited speed. Let's see how that one plays out. Anytime we can use the shifting pedals. And of course, although it's a grown-up SUV, we have a lot of control, a lot of overview. We sit very high. A lot of stability here in the corners. So you're always king of the road, always feeling very sovereign. So the home is the motorway. It's the air suspension equipped with, so at the same time it's also super, super smooth. Lane change here, no tilting at all. That's what the Cayenne is famous for. You're driving a big, high, grown-up SUV, but at the same time you have the feeling of a sports car. And well, with the S, all the sporty elements are a little bit tuned more into that direction. That's what it's for, basically. When I remember the base Cayenne model we had already had so many extras that it was almost an S model, because besides the engine, it's also about some extras, and they can easily also make a base Cayenne more expensive. Now we're going into a tunnel. See also how the instrument cluster looks then at night. Let's drop down in speed a little and accelerate, that we can hear the sound in the tunnel. So they managed to have a really nice sound in here. Wow. So that is also somewhat of a difference. The S model has some more scream in its sound. To control the driving modes, you see I'm always controlling the small turning knob here at the steering wheel, and that's pretty helpful for sure. It's really easy, goes quite fast. We just take the end of this motorway, then we'll turn around, because then we have a longer way to accelerate this car even out further. Here when driving slowly, you also realize, wow, the sound installation is so well done. You don't have to raise your voice at all. And you will also see when we drive faster that it won't change that much. So top-notch sound installation. Also when you're driving a lower speed slalom, how precise the steering wheel is, direct commands from the steering wheel onto the road. That's really perfectly done. So this is definitely a perfect setup. You know, the only thing where a more comfortable SUV has its advantage is when you're going over some bumps. Of course, if you have a sporty setup suspension, here with the air suspension you have a better compromise between sportiness and comfort though. But in general, of course, there are more comfortable SUVs suspension-wise, and also the seats, they are pretty stiff and sporty. They keep you tight here, also with those optional adaptive sport seats we have equipped this vehicle with. Again, they are very good for sporty use. For long-term comfortable runs, it would be better if they would be a little bit softer. There, for example, if you compare the siblings of this vehicle, the Audi Q7 or the Volkswagen Touareg, they then have their advantages. But you know, that's why they have set up those siblings a little bit differently, that you can really see, you know, I'm more this kind of guy, I want this, or I need more off-road capabilities. As I said earlier, also with the approaching angle, which is about 8-9 degrees more with the Volkswagen Touareg, for example, with the Cayenne. So you can pick then, off-road use, comfortable motorway runs, sportier runs, which one is the most suitable for you. So, but definitely what's the case, if you drive in a 911 or in a Boxster, you more feel that you need to attack all the time. But in a Cayenne you can also have this relaxed feeling at the same time, a little bit easier because of the upright seating position, the good overview. Also to the sides, I mean the basic building form on the outside, it has this Porsche approach with the very tight wrapped lines, but at the same time you have also a classic approach rather, that the windows are upright and so on, and that's also good then for the overview on the interior. The all-wheel drive system, by the way, shows me in the digital instrument cluster. So we of course have a rear wheel bias. So when I'm just rolling a little bit or slightly on the throttle, mostly everything goes to the rear wheels, just a little notch to the front. But as soon as I attack it a little bit harder just, then I can immediately see that more torque is transported to the front wheels. And if you really hammer it super hard, for example, also from standstill, it can also be that about 30-40% are drawn to the front wheels to give you more traction. That's of course pretty helpful. This big SUV has this permanent all-wheel drive, so we always basically have it, but then adaptive according to the situations. Shifting pedals here also very well to use. They are so well processed. If you click them, you get a haptical feedback basically, which is flawless. You feel just that it's worthy when clicking it, and I really love those details. You can also change the suspension mode here separately. By the way, we're driving, setting it stiffer, but I would just stay with the base suspension mode. It's really stiff enough. And you don't want to even out the advantages of an air suspension totally, actually. So it's also there to give you that comfort. Otherwise, you wouldn't need to go for the air suspension anyway. So now this sign here on the motorway says I can have the unlimited speed. I have to be careful though because of the weather a little bit, but let's see. Should give us good acceleration from 80 starting now. Also go to the sport mode. I won't go to the sport plus because that one is drawn back the stability control too much, especially for this kind of situations. Let's see. Wow, that was already 150. And you also hear it's still getting, still quite silent in here, although it's very, very windy outside. Very windy. By the way, if I go back to the normal driving mode, the car immediately shifts up a gear just to save some fuel, for example. And when I go to the sport mode, shifts down from the 8-speed automatic gearbox there to the 7th gear. So I can better attack the road then, for sure. So we're going to the left lane here once more. Also when you're in a normal mode, by the way, you don't have to be in the sport mode, you hit the throttle. That was 130 to 160 and still really easy. I mean, with this harsh wind here condition we have here today, you maybe hear some... I haven't experienced that before. It might be due to the wind, but I mean, I'm not sure where this is deriving from. Strange. Now at 120 it's gone. Let's see again. Yeah, it's coming at about 130. So it might have something to do with the harsh wind conditions we have here on the outside today. But the general noise level is low. Just this separate single sound. That was a little bit strange, wasn't it? I'm not sure if you could hear that on camera. Sometimes you can only hear it when you're in the car personally. This car is, by the way, just equipped with the normal cruise control. Yeah, I mean, for a total of 130,000, including extras, I think it should be included in this vehicle to have the adaptive cruise control. yeah, this option policy is really not customer friendly. Now rolling again, just down. You also check the engine temperature and stuff. So far here we had a mixed consumption of 11 liters on 100 kilometers. Considering this is a big engine, it's still somewhat okay, Of course it could be lower, but Porsche customer is not exactly the one customer that would pay too much attention to it. Of course it will always help when it's a little bit lower. Then again, we had some small turbo engines which had lower consumption, and I was also partly pushing it now a little bit. So we're getting off the motorway now, and how smooth the transitions are, You feel so much in control all the time. Good braking power here as well. I can really recommend you to use this new brake coating surface they offer. So I talked about that earlier. Is a good compromise again between carbon ceramic brakes and normal brakes, because they have more power, less fading effect, and they create 90%. They cancel 90% of the fine dust emitting from the brakes. And well, with the top ceramic brakes, if you would go for those, they are actually more suitable for racing, because if you're not using them in racing, they might start to squeak because you don't use them hard enough. And I can just stress it again, it's like 4 times now I had ceramic brakes, and so often that small stones were stuck in there and squeaking so loudly, and once or twice the whole brake system had to be removed and they should be pulled out. So obviously those ceramic brakes are really prone to collecting stones, and therefore I can also not recommend them for normal everyday driving use. Now setting just the cruise control, and when you're driving this car on the motorway and now you're a little bit slower there, well, that feels like nothing. And also sound-wise, you hear nothing. You think you're just cut off from the surrounding. And that can also be dangerous, so you have to be aware of you are not cut off from the surroundings. Still have to pay attention to traffic, what's going on outside, even if you don't hear so much from that. And also pay attention to the speed, because when I'm driving now just above 50 kilometers an hour, it feels like standing still, and then you have to check your speed that you don't get in the speed cameras and stuff. So that's one thing with this vehicle for sure. So comparing to other big SUVs, now as we come to the conclusion stages of our driving part, this is definitely leading in the driving dynamics. That's I think out of question. Comfort-wise, of course, due to the stiff setup of the air suspension and the very stiff sport seats, other of those bigger siblings are better. If you think about the Q7, the Volkswagen Touareg, also BMW X5, X6, for example, they definitely offer you more comfort then. But that's also not the main focus of this Cayenne then, again, so you can pick then according to. If you then compare the normal Cayenne versus the S, if you really floor it out, then you do feel a difference in acceleration, but there's no difference that would justify the extra price you pay for it. So, and if you put some guys blindfolded in the car and ask, is that the S or is that the normal one? Especially now with the new generation, because in the new generation, sadly, we do not get the naturally aspirated engine anymore, the base model engine, which was famous, especially in the US. But the difference then between the base and the S model, since the base model also gets a turbo, is then also pretty much evened out, because the base model is already so powerful. Again, sound is surely a little difference. That could also be an argument. Other than that, the Cayenne is still the Cayenne, even in which version, whatever you pick it, it's still the sportiest SUV and gives you comfort to the extent, where you reach the limits of the sportiness compromise. Now to our conclusion for today, Porsche Cayenne S. First of all, the new generation, a little bit more elegant, a little bit more sportier, very well thought through in the new generation. More room also in the interior. High build quality, really a joy to use that one. Still a good compromise between new modern infotainment technology and also still some manual knobs you can control stuff. Very sporty seating position, still a comfortable and high seating position. Seats a little bit stiff, of course, but that's also where this car is aiming at. The difference between the normal and the S version, exterior and interior, well, you can rather neglect that. This is more about the engine power for sure. And we have felt that, but again, in the new generation, it's also not the biggest difference, as the base model has also become stronger even more. And the Cayenne in general, of course, what people think it, well, Porsche feeling, sporty, exterior, interior, and the driving, but still this comfortable SUV position and also easy to get in and out. That's why the Cayenne is still one of their favorite models there. Looking forward very soon, for example, especially for me, to the GTS models, which we will present to you soon. Also a plug-in hybrid will be coming this year. So those ones will be one of the next projects here with the Cayenne, and we will keep you updated for sure. Thank you very much for tuning into Autogefühl, and see you next time.